Warm welcome to all of you on Game On. I'm Meha Bhardwaj-Alter, and this is where you get all the latest from the world of sports. Let's begin with the Indian squad for the Sri Lanka series. Now, the much drawn-out selection committee meeting headed by BCCI Chief Selector Ajit Agarkar with inputs from new head coach Gautam Gambhir finally saw the squad for the upcoming tour of Sri Lanka being announced on Thursday evening, and it was not without plenty of commotion and speculation. While the BCCI and Gambhir are yet to speak on the selection for the upcoming 3 T20I internationals and ODIs in Sri Lanka, it appears that the Gambhir era has truly begun. If we look at certain selection calls for this tour. In the post Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli world, the T20 team will be captained by Suryakumar Yadav and not Hardik Pandya. While for the ODI leg, the vice captaincy has gone to Shubman Gill, who recently led a second-string side in Zimbabwe. During the 15-odd months that Rohit had been away from the T20I format following the T20 World Cup in 2022, the selectors had chosen Pandya to captain the side in the shortest format. The all-rounder did the job across 4 series, home and away, until he injured himself during last year's ODI World Cup. The T20I team was subsequently led by Suryakumar Yadav in back-to-back series against Australia and South Africa until in January of this year, the selectors recalled Rohit Sharma for the first time since 2022. Pandya was the vice-captain at the ODI and T20 World Cups, but now he finds himself only in the T20I squad, and that too without a leadership role. Whether Sky remains India's permanent T20I captain with an eye on 2026 remains to be seen, but Pandya not getting the nod does indicate a shifting of gears, with Gill at the age of 24 being handed the vice-captaincy for both white ball teams. Now, Rohit and Kohli are in the ODI squad, as are Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul, which leaves the management to decide which of them will keep wicket. Pant has not played an ODI since November 2022 and looks set to make his comeback after making a successful return from surgery and rehab. Sanju Samson, who scored a century in his previous ODI appearance, does not feature in the ODI squad. Shreyas Iyer, not part of Team India's T20 or Test plans. He has retained his place in the ODI squad. Ravindra Jadeja is not part of the ODI setup, with some reports suggesting that the BCCI is, of course, looking towards the future, with Akshar Patel tipped to become India's premier spin bowling all-rounder in white ball cricket. Washington Sundar, player of the series in Zimbabwe, has been named in both squads for the Sri Lanka tour. Riyan Parag, who made his debut in T20 as recently, has been retained in the T20 squad and handed a maiden call-up to the ODI setup. Harshit Rana also gets his first ODI chance, joining a pace bowling attack featuring Mohammad Siraj, Arshdeep Singh and Khalil Ahmed. Abhishek Sharma and Ruturaj Gaikwad, they've been dropped from the T20I squad that won 4-1 in Zimbabwe, as are Mukesh Kumar and Avesh Khan. Ravi Bishnoi, he returns to the T20 setup with Yuzvendra Chahal dropped. Team India will play 3 T20Is and 3 ODIs in Sri Lanka between July 27th and August 7th. All right, to discuss both the teams and what this means for India looking ahead, Jamie Alter, a man who wears many hats, he joins us here. He's a cricket analyst, writer, he's a YouTuber, an actor. Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time out. Let's first begin with this point, which is that Gautam Gambhir's era has truly begun, because we've already seen the selection committee meeting being shifted from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday. Finally, we got the team, and surprise, surprise, it wasn't Hardik Pandya who was the captain of T20Is as all of us expected, but Suryakumar Yadav. What do you make of it?
Yes, thank you for having me on the show. Good evening, everyone. I don't know, if we look at, we don't even need to dial back the clock that far to understand the BCCI over the past few years has a history of appointing vice captains and captains when they're not major players. By major players, I mean whenever Virat Kohli, who led the team, what, for 5, 6 years, when he was not around, whoever stepped up was not there on a permanent basis. And we saw this the same during the Rohit Sharma era. I go back to Meha those 15, 16 months when it appeared, or let's say the lack of any clarity from the BCI surrounding where Virat and Rohit stood in regards to 2020 cricket. In those 15 odd months, the de facto captain was Hardik Pandya. It's only when Hardik Pandya was injured did someone like a Suryakumar Yadav step up. Now, the immediate two T20 series after the One Day World Cup last year, we all know Hardik Pandya was out for about 5, 6 months. In those two series, one against Australia literally days after the One Day World Cup, and then a week later in South Africa, Suryakumar Yadav was the captain. But then one fine day in the month of January this year, when Jai Shah announced that Rohit Sharma was coming back, and then Rohit Sharma became captain. Now Rohit Sharma is retired. My question is, and I don't have a definite answer, is this just another ad hoc, maybe temporary appointment? We all know that Hardik Pandya has had a rough time before the World Cup. He's had a tough time off the field in his personal life. And is it a coincidence that literally hours after that squad was announced the other day, that the news of his personal life came forward? I'm not trying to join the dots and get to a conclusion, but there is enough evidence, Meha, to suggest that maybe this is not the right time for Hardik Pandya or the BCCI to name him captain, because of the reasons I also discussed. Also, unlike any other player, Suryakumar Yadav, to my mind at least, is only a T20 player when it comes to playing for India. He's not going to play Test cricket again. I think the BCCI has moved beyond him. Meha, when it comes to one-day cricket, they want someone who's not injury-prone. And when he's playing for India, or when he's wearing a Team India jersey, his only focus is T20 cricket. And that is where I personally see Suryakumar Yadav being. Had the Champions Trophy, that said, not been happening in about 6 months' time from now, perhaps Hardik Pandya might have been given the captaincy. But here's a player, and when he's brilliant, let's make no mistake, he's brilliant. We saw his brilliance less than a month ago in the T20 World Cup. Maybe Gautam Gambhir coming on board as a high-profile coach, maybe Ajit Agarkar, the chairman of selectors, they want that kind of Hardik Pandya available when the next ICC trophy comes around. And that is going to be, for the record, the Champions Trophy in February. You know, I don't think there's much to be gained by sending someone like Hardik Pandya to Sri Lanka for 3 ODIs, given the fact that he's brittle, if I can use that word. Who knows what it is? I'm not quite convinced that Suryakumar Yadav will be leading India for a long time, given the basis that he's only led twice. Hardik Pandya, on evidence, had a longer rope given to him. I think maybe we're reading too much into it. It could just be a temporary issue, given his fitness and also all that's been going on with him on and off the field.
Sure, so it could be a stopgap arrangement, Suryakumar Yadav being given T20I captaincy. The sense that I get, though, Jamie, is that this may be one of the reasons, fitness being, like we said, but I feel like the management and everybody, including Gautam Gambhir, chairman of selectors, Ajit Agarkar, they are keen on eventually handing the captaincy to Shubman Gill. And you can see that by, first of all, not just demoting Hardik Pandya, not just from captaincy, but from vice captaincy as well as KL Rahul. You know, my sense is that now the vision is really to give or to mentor Shubman Gill and then give him captaincy for possibly all 3 formats. That's what they're looking at.
Yes, there's a lot of reason to believe that is the way, because Shubman Gill is one of those few players like a Yashasvi Jaiswal, who's, I'm talking about under 25 players, who foreseeably should play no less than 10, 12 years going forward, minimum 12 years, if not more. And leadership skills have been discussed when it comes to Jaiswal, when it comes to Shubman Gill. In India, as you well know, traditionally the captain has always been the best batsman in the team. And while Shubman Gill and Jaiswal are not there right now, we know that once in the next few years, when Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli move away from all international cricket, these 2 batsmen will, along with Shreyas Iyer, be the mainstay of the batting. I'm not mentioning Rishabh Pant because he's a keeper, and I think he has a few issues to sort out. But to my mind, it's in this order: it's Jaiswal, Gill, and then Shreyas Iyer, who will play the longest. And each of them come with their own certain captaincy experience. Shubman Gill is the least experienced, probably. We've seen him captain in the IPL for one season. But the fact is, when you're a player who the management and all the stakeholders of the BCI expect to play for at least a decade, it's natural that you will be groomed. And I think the fact that he's had a very, very good run in one-day cricket, he's got his Test career back on track, that ticks off the two most important facets right now. I personally may have believed that he still got a long way to go to convince in the T20I format. Again, he's not played a whole lot of matches, but I believe that's his weakest format. But that does not mean that I don't expect him to improve on that. And maybe being given the vice captaincy tag for these two series is an indication. However, the pessimist in me, having seen the vice captain role being thrown around literally like someone throwing flowers on a basket. Last year we had 4 vice captains. So I'm not going to look too much into Shubman Gill being appointed vice captain for just 6 pretty meaningless matches in Sri Lanka. But yes, I understand that given what he's going to be doing years to come now, it could be indication that they're seeing him. But until Rohit's around, and the man himself said, I'm not going anywhere for a while, I think we could be looking at least 3 more years of Rohit Sharma. So the question is, if we are looking at Rohit for 3 more years, is the BCI going to keep giving Shubman Gill that vice captaincy tag? Or like last year, will they hand it out to somebody else? I'm not so convinced on that aspect yet.
Okay, now, also 1 year is a long time in Indian cricket. So many things change within a year. I mean, to think that, in the last 8 months, India won one World Cup and have lost the other World Cup, the final of that. And we've seen so many things since then that have changed. Okay, now in Hardik Pandya versus Suryakumar Yadav T20I captaincy debate, both of them have similar win percentages, India's captains in the shortest format of international cricket. Pandya has captained India in 16 T20Is between June 26, 2022 and August 13, 2023. He won 10 of those matches and lost 5. He was also captain during remarkably in a tight T20I against New Zealand in Napier, and India had managed to get to the DLS par score of 75 before rain forced the players back in the hut. No more play was possible, which meant that the match was declared a tie with no tiebreakers played. It was just the third tie T20 and the first between the two test playing countries. Suryakumar Yadav's first assignment as T20I captain was the home series against Australia from 23rd of November to December 3rd last year. He then captained India in their 3-match T20I series in South Africa. The first match of that series was washed out. However, an injury sustained while fielding in the third T20I had forced him out of the national team for a long period. Suryakumar Yadav had captained India in 8 T20Is in 2 series, including that washed out match. So, here's what, not that Gautam Gambhir, the new coach of this Indian team, or Ajit Agarkar, the chairman of selectors, had a press conference that we know what happened. But from the reports, what we hear is there were a few issues with Hardik Pandya being given captaincy. One was fitness. That has been a concern with him. The other was, which is now being reported in various newspapers, is that players trust Suryakumar Yadav more as the captain. In the time that Suryakumar Yadav was captaining this side, players liked his approach, and it's pretty similar to Rohit Sharma's approach. Now, this was the reason, or these were the 2 reasons. But I also feel, Jamie, this has come down to what has been the difference the last time Hardik Pandya was made the vice captain and Suryakumar Yadav wasn't, which is Gautam Gambhir's presence in the side. What has changed from the time that Ajit Agarkar took over to now is the fact that you have a different coach in Gautam Gambhir. The fitness issues with Hardik Pandya remain the same. There were fitness issues then, there are fitness issues now. So clearly, you see Gautam Gambhir's stamp on this?
Yes, I do. You've also been covering cricket for as long as I have. I do not recall the arrival of a new coach of the Indian team, irrespective of whether it's an Indian or an overseas coach, Meha, any press conference going on for 3 days. I'm not saying that Monday was the day which anyone confirmed, but that was when the talk started, and we all know we're all reliant on sources and how that works. From Monday to go to Tuesday to go to Wednesday, then finally for yesterday evening, that is Thursday evening, for it to take over 3 days to finally get a squad out, it says that something has changed. What has changed? To my mind, it is just the arrival of a very headstrong and fiercely competitive coach in the name of Gautam Gambhir. He might have bitten off more than he can chew. That may have only time will tell. And like I was saying on another show yesterday, I personally will not judge the Gambhir era until at least 3 series have passed, because one series, a handful of matches is not enough. Just like we shouldn't be judging players on 3-4 matches. And just like, your producer had the graphic of Suryakumar Yadav captaining in 8 matches, that's a very small sample size. But yes, to answer your question now, the stamp is definitely there. Why else would a selection meeting or various discussions drag on for 3 days? No surprise, as you know very well in these days, that there's no press conference, that there's no explanation whether Jadeja's rested or dropped. There's nothing there. Just that one very not so subtle line, which I believe is a shot to someone like Ishan Kishan. The BCI is taking domestic cricket very seriously. But beyond that, I have to say, yes, this is the Gautam Gambhir stamp. He arrives here with a big pedigree as a player. He's the flavor of this year's IPL because he came back as the mentor to KKR and turned around a team that, frankly, not many Meha would have seen even making to the playoffs, and then they go on to win the title. So he has momentum with him. We've seen him as a player. We've seen him as a politician. We've seen him as an IPL mentor, very fierce, very forthright in his opinions. So definitely he wanted to start this series on his own terms. We still also, and this adds on to what I'm getting at, if you read between the lines, we still haven't heard of the coaching staff. Has any coach come on board with such demands? Apparently, I cannot recall, So there's a lot at stake here. And I believe this is definitely Gautam Gambhir's stamp. Yes, also one thing I have to mention before we wrap up this part is he has played with Suryakumar Yadav when it seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't. He was part of KKR. So he's seen the evolution and the rise of Sky. Perhaps something there about him and his calmness, his demeanor told Gambhir, maybe I want him as captain. Who knows? Because right now we're all working on hearsay and the BCI has not said anything yet.
One more thing before we wrap this up is the curious case of Sanju Samson not finding his name in the ODIs. How surprised are you by that, given that he was the one to score a century in his last appearance against South Africa? And to think that someone like Shivam Dube, who last played an ODI 5 years ago, has been added to this ODI list over someone like a Sanju Samson.
Yeah, I'm going to try and abstain from from rumors and all that stuff and answer you, Meha, through purely cricketing logic. Hardik Pandya has made himself unavailable as per the BCI for the ODI leg. That means you need a seam bowling all-rounder, right? So here the answer is, I don't have to be a fan of him, but Shivam Dube fits that bill, right? He's got momentum on his side. So that takes care of that question right there. Sanju Samson, Meha, as you know very well, I've been saying for a long time, the BCCI is giving him chances in the wrong format. He needs to be playing a lot more one-day cricket. It was on this very channel when we were doing shows last year. In the build-up, as you will remember, to the one-day World Cup, I said BCCI is wasting time on Suryakumar Yadav. He will not succeed in the World Cup. You need Sanju Samson. What happened? Samson was not picked and Suryakumar Yadav had a terrible time, capped by that awful performance in the final. The point is, Meha, we tend to forget when we analyze Indian cricket that a certain Rishabh Pant was not around last year, right?
Yes.
So Sanju Samson, as brilliant as he's been, I know his stats off the top of my head. He averages 56 in 1 days. He's got 8 not-out innings. His strike rate is 101.8, if I'm not mistaken. But the point is, when you have a KL Rahul, who's a senior player, who averages 50 in 1 day, and then you're welcoming back Rishabh Pant, right? Samson and Ishan Kishan only got that many chances, Meha, in the last 18 months because Rishabh Pant was lying in a recovery phase for the longest time. I understand that Rishabh Pant is also a work in progress in ODIs. I'm not impressed by the returns he's given. But just when his one-day career was on the rise, Meha, he got a match-winning 100, then he got injured. So we've not seen Rishabh Pant play. But Sanju Samson fans, and I know there's a lot of them out there, keyboard warriors, they must understand that it's not necessarily a slight on Sanju Samson. Is it unfair? Perhaps. But Rishabh Pant was doing the job before he got injured. So now that he's fit, he's had a successful IPL, he's had a decent run at the World Cup. Gautam Gambhir sees a match winner who he knows closely. He wants to get him playing as much cricket. It's as simple as that. There will always be collateral damage, and unfortunately, this time around, it's Sanju Samson.
But that's the thing, it's been Sanju Samson far too often. He's always been in that list of nearly there, but not quite so, and despite having done well. All right, Jamie Alter, thank you so much for putting all of this into perspective for us. That's it then on this special. News 9 Live is what you need to follow if you want all the latest from the world of sports. Game On is the show that you need to follow specifically if you want, all the big sports stories. For now, goodbye. Have a good weekend.
इस खेल में खेला होगा हर नहले पे दहला होगा टीम बड़ा है स्टेज बड़ा है पूरा भारत साथ खड़ा है साथ खड़ा है गेम बड़ा है ड्रिबल लाइक अ रैप पास 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 सेटिंग अप द ट्रैप kick it hard in the boot chuck they football Saturday football. Saturday football. Saturday football.
For the very first time in